The sky was black with smoke. Temples crumbled. Canals ran red. A proud emperor, Cuauhtémoc, dragged in chains before Hernán Cortés. 93 days of siege had broken the greatest city in the Americas. The Aztec Empire was no more. But this fall was not written in a single battle. It was not the work of steel alone. It was betrayal. It was disease. It was gods and omens. And it began long before the final flames. To understand how an empire of millions fell to just a few hundred strangers, we must go back. In the early 1500s, the Aztec Empire was the beating heart of Mesoamerica. At its center lay Tenochtitlan, a city of stone and water. Built on an island in Lake Texcoco, its causeways stretched like arms to the mainland, while canals carried thousands of canoes through its shining waters. The marketplace of Tlatelolco buzzed with life. Gold and jade, cacao and obsidian, exotic feathers of every hue. Chroniclers say more than 60,000 people traded here daily. Its temples towered above the city, painted red with the blood of sacrifice. To the Mexica, human hearts fed the gods, and without them, the sun itself might fall from the sky. By some counts, more than 200,000 souls lived here, more than London, more than Paris. It was a jewel of the world. But every empire, no matter how brilliant, casts shadows. Conquered peoples bore heavy tribute. Sons and daughters were demanded for sacrifice. Allies were scarce. Enemies were many. And resentment simmered beneath the splendor. Years before the Spaniards arrived, omens shook the empire. A comet blazed across the sky. Flames consumed temples without touch of fire. The waters of the lake boiled and rose. Voices were heard in the night, crying of doom. Priests whispered of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god who had once walked among men, teaching wisdom before departing eastward, promising one day to return. When the omens came, many believed that time had arrived. Moctezuma, the emperor, ruled from his palace in Tenochtitlan, but the weight of prophecy pressed on him. Was he presiding over the empire's glory or its doom? In 1519, sails appeared on the coast, white wings against the sea. From them stepped Hernán Cortés. Born in Spain, restless and ambitious, Cortés had defied his governor and sailed without permission, seeking fortune and glory. At his back, fewer than 600 men. 16 horses, a handful of cannon, and faith that their God had destined them for conquest. But what they lacked in numbers, they carried in terror. Horses that the Mexica had never seen, steel that cut obsidian, muskets and cannons that spat fire and thunder. Yet even Cortés knew 600 men could not topple millions. To survive, he would need allies, and he would find them among those who hated Aztec rule. And before we continue, if you want to hear how more on empires rise and fall, subscribe now. Every week, another legend is reborn. On his march inland, Cortés fought the Tlaxcalans, fierce warriors and bitter enemies of the Aztecs. For days they battled, but when the Tlaxcalans realized these strangers could challenge Tenochtitlan itself, they did something astonishing. They allied with them. Thousands of native allies joined Cortés. Not because they loved Spain, but because they despised Aztec tribute and sacrifice. And so, with steel and horses in front, and legions of native warriors behind, Cortés marched into the Valley of Mexico. Moctezuma watched anxiously. Were these men conquerors or gods? On November 8, 1519, the Spaniards entered Tenochtitlan. They beheld a city greater than Venice, floating on a lake, shining with temples and palaces. Moctezuma met Cortés on the causeway. He welcomed him with gifts of gold, words of peace, and perhaps fear. For the emperor still believed prophecy might be unfolding before his eyes. The Spaniards were given quarters in the city. At first they were honored guests, but tension festered. Two worlds had met, and neither could endure the other for long. In May 1520, during the festival of Toxcatl, the Spaniards struck. As dancers and nobles celebrated in the great temple, Spanish swords flashed. Hundreds were cut down. Why? Some say the Spaniards feared rebellion. Others claim they sought to stamp out Aztec gods. Whatever the reason, the massacre ignited fury. The Mexica rose against them. Stones, spears, and fire rained down on the invaders. The Spaniards were trapped inside Tenochtitlan. Their ally, Moctezuma, was struck by stones from his own people and soon lay dead. The city was no longer a host. It was a prison. On June 30th, 1520, the Spaniards tried to flee the city by night. They carried stolen gold on their backs, their canoes laden heavy. But the alarm was raised. From the shadows came warriors in thousands. Canoes filled the waters. Stones and arrows rained from the sky. On the causeways, chaos erupted. Spaniards fell into the lake, dragged down by armor and treasure. Horses drowned. Muskets sank. Hundreds died. It was La Noche Triste, the night of sorrows. Cortés wept beneath a tree as his men staggered away, broken and bloodied. But he was not finished. The Spaniards retreated to Tlaxcala, but soon returned stronger. They built brigantines, small ships to control the lake, and they returned with tens of thousands of native allies. But the deadliest ally was invisible. Smallpox had arrived with the Spaniards. It spread through Tenochtitlan like fire. Men, women, and children withered in days. Entire households died, their bodies left unburied. When the siege began in 1521, Tenochtitlan was already weakened. For 93 days, the city held out. But starvation took its toll. Canoes once filled with food now carried only corpses. By August, the city could endure no longer. The canals were clogged with the dead, temples burned. On August 13th, Cuauhtémoc, the young emperor, attempted to flee by canoe. He was captured and brought before Cortés. "I have done all I could," he said. "Now take this dagger and end my life." Cortés refused. The once mighty emperor lived, but his empire was gone. The city of Tenochtitlan was reduced to rubble. On its ruins, a new city would rise, Mexico City, and with it, the world was changed forever. The fall of the Aztec Empire was not the triumph of steel alone. It was the weight of prophecy, the hunger of betrayal, the terror of disease, and the despair of a people divided. What was lost was more than a city. It was knowledge, tradition, faith, and culture. Yet the blood of the Mexica still flows through Mexico today. The temples may lie in ruins, but the people endure. History does not vanish. It waits, it lingers, it burns, until the moment we bring it back. This was the fall of the Aztec Empire. This is Legends Reborned. If you want to hear how more on empires rise and fall, subscribe now. Every week, another legend is reborn.